Welcome back, friends. Sit down. The fire is still burning. When we left Adaeze last time, she had just made a discovery that would have destroyed most people. Her husband and her best friend had been quietly dismantling her business from inside. Most people, in her position, would have done one of three things. They would have confronted, loudly, immediately, emotionally. They would have collapsed, into grief, into inaction. Or they would have run, to family, to gossip, to the safety of being the visible victim. Adaeze did none of these things. Adaeze went to see a lawyer. And this is where her story truly begins. Loudspeaker, if you are just joining us, welcome to the Talking Baobab. Subscribe now and start from episode 1 in the series. The link is in the description below. And those of you who are back, let's continue. Mr. Felix Eze's office is on Garden Avenue in Enugu. 3rd floor. The kind of office that has been there for 20 years and has absorbed the confidence of that permanence. Books on the wall. A heavy wooden desk. A man who has seen enough in 20 years of commercial law to have what Adeeze's mother would call steady eyes. Eyes that do not widen at bad news because they have seen it all before. Adaeze placed her folder on his desk. She sat across from him. She said, "I need you to tell me exactly what has been done and exactly what I can do about it." Mr. Felix read for 4 to 5 minutes without speaking. Then he looked up and said, "Mrs. Okafor, what they have done is significant, and what you can do about it is also significant. But the approach matters enormously. Do you want to be right publicly, or do you want to win completely?" "I want to win completely," she said. "Then you must not let them know you know," he said. "Not yet. Not until the moment is exactly right." They spent 2 hours planning. This is what Adaeze learned that afternoon. Chidi had added himself and the NGO Enterprises account as co-signatories to her business account, but the original account remained in her name as primary holder. He had not, legally, transferred anything yet. He was in position to transfer. He had not pulled the trigger, which meant she still had time. And time was the most important thing she had now. Mr. Eze laid out the plan in 5 clear steps. First, she would change the business account signatories through the bank, removing Chidi and NGO Enterprises, before they made any withdrawal. Second, she would quietly contact her key suppliers and school contract holders to reconfirm the business relationship under her personal directorship. Third, she would engage her company's accountant to produce a full audit of the last 2 years. Fourth, she would quietly begin the process of legally separating the business assets from the marital estate. Fifth, when everything was secured, when the business was protected, when the evidence was documented, when the legal papers were ready, then, and only then, she would act. "How long will this take?" she asked. 8 weeks, he said. "If you are disciplined." "I have been disciplined for 15 years, she said. "Then you will be fine," he said. Those 8 weeks were the most difficult performance of Adeeze's life. Every morning, she woke up beside a man who did not know she knew. She made tea. She asked how his day looked. She listened to him talk about his engineering contracts. She smiled at the right moments. She did this every single morning for 8 weeks. Every afternoon, she went to her office and worked, calling suppliers, meeting the bank, meeting her accountant, meeting Mr. Eze. The business was being quietly, legally rebuilt around a new structure that Chidi could not touch. Every weekend, she saw Ngozi. They had coffee. They went to the market together. Ngozi laughed at her jokes. Adeeze laughed at Ngozi's. She watched her friend's eyes for guilt and found only confidence. The specific confidence of someone who believes they are too well hidden to be found. Adeeze found this more painful than anything else. Not the money. Not even the marriage. The confidence on Ngozi's face. The ease of someone who has decided that the person they betrayed is not intelligent enough to notice. That ease, Adeeze decided, was the thing that was going to cost Ngozi the most. In week 4, her accountant delivered the audit. The numbers confirmed what she suspected. Over 22 months, NGO Enterprises had received referral fees from 3 of Adeeze's suppliers. The fees were disguised as consultancy charges, Small enough individually to look like normal business costs, large enough collectively to represent a significant sum. 2,300,000 naira. That was the money that had been siphoned from her business while she was trusting both of them. She looked at that number for a long time. Then she put it in the folder with everything else. In week 6, she discovered something she had not anticipated. Ngozi was not just a partner in what Chidi was building. She was the primary architect of it. It had been Ngozi who approached Adaeze's biggest supplier first. It had been Ngozi who registered NGO enterprises. It had been Ngozi who convinced Chidi to participate, using their friendship with Adaeze as the key to every door. Chidi had been an instrument. Ngozi was the hand holding the instrument. There was one evening, a Wednesday in week 7, when Adaeze sat in her car outside her office building and did not move for 40 minutes. Not because she was afraid, not because she was reconsidering, but because she was grieving. Grief is not always loud. Sometimes it sits in a parked car on a quiet Enugu street and watches the darkness gather outside the window and asks a simple question. How? How do you do this to someone you love? Adaeze had asked Ngozi that question in her head 100 times. Not for the money, not for the business, but for the ordinary Tuesday afternoons. The phone calls when things were hard. The wedding. The secondary school years. The specific intimacy of a friendship that has outlasted everything. How do you weaponize 20 years of love? She sat in the car and she did not answer that question. Because there was no answer that would help her. There was only the morning, and the folder, and the 8 weeks. She drove home. She made dinner. She sat across from Chidi. She smiled at the right moment. This is what strength looks like in a person who has decided not to collapse. It does not look like a warrior. It looks like a woman making dinner. In week 7, Adaeze went to visit her mother at the market. Mema Naji is 68 years old. She still runs her fabric stall at Ogbate Market. Her hands are still moving, always moving, sorting, folding. She looked at her daughter for a long time when Adaeze sat down beside her stall. Then she said, "You have something on your face that is not tiredness." Adaeze told her. Everything. Quietly, at the market, beside her mother's fabric stall, with the sounds of Enugu's busiest market around them. Mema Naji listened without interrupting. When Adaeze finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Are you going to ruin them?" "No," Adaeze said. "I am going to make them irrelevant." Her mother looked at her for a long time. Then she nodded. She reached across and squeezed her daughter's hand. The same hand she had pressed 5,000 naira into 15 years ago. "Good," she said. "The woman who builds does not need to destroy. She simply builds higher, until the people who stole from her are standing in the shadow of what she built." And then she went back to sorting her fabric. Because the market was not going to sort itself. The lesson of this episode is about patience. Not the passive kind, not waiting and hoping. The active kind. The kind that Adaeze practiced. Sitting across from her betrayers every day and building, quietly, the thing that would eventually correct what they had done. There is a difference between doing nothing and doing something invisibly. Adaeze was never doing nothing. She was building a case, note by note, document by document, supplier call by supplier call. While her betrayers relaxed in their false security, she was working. Patience is not the absence of action. Patience is action that has not yet shown itself. Herb the leopard does not announce the hunt. It simply arrives. Week 8 is complete. The business is legally protected. The audit is done. The documents are ready. Mr. Ez has prepared the papers. And Adaeze Okafor has made one final decision, not about what to do, but about how to do it. Because she does not want a courtroom fight. She does not want the drama of a public exposure. She wants something far more considered than that. She is going to give them both a choice. And the choice she offers them will show everyone exactly who they are. Episode 3, The Choice. Under the Talking Baobab. Loudspeaker friends, if this story is speaking to you, please hit the like button right now. It costs you nothing and it tells this tree to keep the fire burning. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe so you are here for episode 3. We will continue.